But I just to say again how amazing and privileged it has been to work with Martina and Colm, and they so sensitive to the vision of the artists, and there's nothing that's not possible, and they bring another life to your work, and it's great to have had that opportunity. So I'd say if anybody is interested, go down to Ceadogán, and just both of you are so generous with your time and your vision. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to The Art as Well. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we're sort of on a little quest to discover artists that would be sort of outside what we call the traditional name of artist, which is somebody who puts paint to canvas. But undoubtedly, there are a lot of people out there who are passionate about their products and about their process and are truly artists in their own right. And one of those is our guests this morning. And I discovered them when we were down in Dunbrody House with some very good friends of ours as their guests. And as one does when you're going away like that for a weekend, you tend to kind of find out, what's going on in the area. Is there anything of interest in the area? And I came across this company and I thought, wow, that's really interesting and could fit in very nicely to my particular quest of discovering new artists out there. So I'm delighted this morning to welcome them. And they're all the way from Wexford, deep in the south of Wexford. And it's Colm Kenny and Martina Navratilova. So good morning to you both. How are you?
Alan,
morning,
how are
Alan.
you? Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Great. And look, thanks for joining us. That was a couple of weeks ago. And we were really taken by, the work that you do and the collaboration you do with visual artists. So what I'd like to do is maybe, get a bit of background to both of you. So Martina, can we start with you? I know it's a well-known Czech Republic name, and you're from Brno.
Brno, yeah.
Brno, yeah. Where exactly is that?
That's in the south of Czech Republic. It's actually much closer to Austria, Vienna, than it would be to Prague, the capital.
Yes. Okay. And when did you come over to Ireland?
I first came in 2000, but that was just as a student, and I was just traveling for the summer, and I fell in love with the place. And then in 2006, when I finished my studies in Czech, I kind of decided to spend a few months in Ireland, and it turned into forever.
Forever. Yeah. And what did you study?
I studied fine art. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And how long were you doing that?
For 6 years, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Quite a long, yeah. It's masters, so yeah, you kind
Right.
of study
And did you
forever.
specialize in any particular area?
No, we actually covered everything. So you could
Right.
kind of choose semester by semester different medias, which kind of suited me because I'm kind of that kind of a person that I don't like to stick with one thing. I like
Yes.
to kind of involve everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what brought you over to Ireland?
Just the curiosity. I was always interested in the Green Island, and then I loved the sea because we are landlocked as a country. So
Yes.
for me, that was just amazing, the fresh air and the water around you.
So you settled over in the west, Connemara, yeah?
Yeah, I was in West first, and that was great because the west of Ireland, around Renville, Larifrac, County Galway, Connemara, it's amazing, and there's lots of artists, so it suited me really well
Yeah.
for that period of time. Yeah.
So that's what you did. You painted, basically, yeah?
And I did printmaking as well
Oh,
and
did
some
you?
photography. Yeah. So
Okay.
there is the Clifton Arts Week in September each year. So yeah, so I participated in that. So yeah,
Very good.
great.
Okay. So over to you, Colm. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, it's quite varied as well. So we'll come on a windy road to where we're at now. But
But you were born where you are now.
I was born here, yeah, and I grew up here in this yard.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a homestead, and much of my family still live around here.
Yes.
But I was away for quite a long time and studied in Letterfrack over in Connemara. Studied furniture design over there. That would have been around, I think I went there in 1998.
Yes.
And when I was finishing up, there was a company. It's a very interesting setup up there, actually, a kind of a community collaborative initiative that involves GMIT and the local organization Connemara West. And the Connemara West were establishing a conservation centre when I was finishing my studies. I ended up working with them there on campus for another 7 or 8 years. So also almost ended up there forever. But I just left there in 2007 and came back here then. And I set up my own business here in the yard, which was right next to where my uncle was working with the rugs. And just naturally kind of ended up blending the two. I had a foot in both camps gradually and doing bits and pieces.
When he was busy, he'd call on you.
Yeah, there were times there. I mean, I got incredibly busy during the crash.
Tiger.
Yeah.
Huh?
In that big crash back in 2010, 2011, I got very busy actually on churches, funnily enough. So there was an arson attack on a church in Dublin, and I ended up getting a contract up there to look after the whole interior. So it was a huge job actually, and it was something outside my comfort zone at the time in terms of the scale of it. So I ended up I had 14 staff. While things were very quiet for everybody, I was, very, very busy. So yeah, there was times there where Chris, who was the main tufter here for 20 years, was working with me. And then there was other times when I was doing bits with Ceadogán and just gradually became more and more involved. Yeah.
Right. And did you meet up with Martina over in the West?
Yes.
When you were there?
In the West, yeah.
Yeah. So she followed you back?
Well, I wouldn't say followed me back. No.
Now I'll leave that up to you to discuss. So Martina brings a lot of her artistic flair, obviously, to the making of the rugs.
Yes.
But you're also very much into collaborations with visual artists, and you've quite a number that you've worked with. Can you tell us about one or two of them that you've had dealings with?
That's we discussed this with Colm, and it's very difficult because when you look at our website, there's a collaboration with 12 of them, and we we have to name them all because we don't want to upset anyone.
Sure. I know, and some of them are here at the moment.
Yeah, so it is, but the list is there. So if anybody wants to check the list, because I don't want to bore anyone, it's like at the end of the book, thank you to, and the list goes on, and we could do the same.
That's right.
And we are very grateful to that. And it was thanks to Dennis and Fiona, actually, they came up with the concept of, they realized that you can't fit everybody's taste. So you need more and more designers on board. And they started with that process of asking designers and makers and artists, Irish-based, if they want to make a collaboration. So that's how it all started. And we were just, gradually continuing with that idea. And it proved to be really good, and very rewarding as well. So
yeah, I think it's very much is that collaboration with the arts and that blending of art and craft, So
exactly,
I guess.
So once you do your own designs, then you have these collaborations that add to the portfolio effectively.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. And tell me, I'm sure, I know there's probably different ways of approaching it, but do some people approach you and do you approach other people?
Yeah, it works both ways.
Both ways.
Both ways. Yeah.
Okay. And would there be circumstances where somebody would commission you to their own design as well?
Yes.
Outside of your kind of known collaboration.
That would be a huge part of what we do.
Would it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Tell me about this island project. That this is quite a big thing, and we have a number of images that we're going to show in a while that will detail some of those. And they're But tell us about the background to the project. How did this arise?
Well, I guess it was just coming out of the lockdown. So we'd had quite a bit of time. We were busy, but we'd had quite a bit of time away from people to think. And we also felt very fortunate in that we were busy and we were able to continue working throughout the whole thing. But we had come out feeling, I suppose, very grateful to where we are and our own situation and our privileges that we were lucky enough to enjoy. So we wanted to try and give something back. And we felt, that to draw on our own strengths and at the same time try and integrate our business into our immediate surroundings would be a good way to show our. So yeah, we sat down with Jenny, who's been working with us since forever, it feels like. Jenny Maslin, she's one of the onboard designers. And we had a meeting about what we might do and threw a few ideas in on the table, and We'd always been working with all these different artists, and we were kind of looking down the road of who are we going to approach, who are we going to work with, and then someone just said, well, why don't we approach them all? There was a whole number of suggestions that had been thrown out. We said, why don't we just approach them all, do a one-off piece with each, and sell them as art pieces rather than, as editions or as collections, just a one-off piece and have an exhibition. So yeah, we thought that sounded super. Sent off all the emails to various galleries and artists, and then we're just blown out of the water by the response, because every single one without fail was positive. And we found ourselves in a situation where we were going back to people we'd approached and said, actually, we've just been blown over here and we don't have room. We'll have to do it again sometime.
I
Or
know. Yes.
so we found ourselves in a different position suddenly. But so that's what kicked it off. Yeah.
Okay. So there was a number of elements to this, because there was a charity,
Yeah.
and then there was a fund to develop things with you,
Yeah.
and then there was a proportion for the artist as well. So
Yeah.
can you give us a flavor of what the breakdown was there and why?
Right. Well, what we said was we'd split the profits with Peter McVerry. So they took 50% of the profits, and then the remaining 50% we split with the artists.
Yeah.
So from each sale, then there was, the cost of the materials and labor was taken, and then we divided up the profits.
Right.
So, it worked out quite successfully. Our portion that we took from the profits, we directed into this project of trying to integrate the business into the habitat around us, I guess. So, yeah, it was.
And is this where the alpacas come into it?
Yeah,
Yes,
it was quite an ambitious thing. So I suppose it involved first really assessing what's around us, and trying to find a way that we could work our enterprises or our workings into that, So we felt to try and produce our own yarns, even if it's not in a fully efficient, economical way, if we were producing our own yarns from there that we could use in art pieces, it would be a way for us to direct some of our profits into supporting that habitat,
Yes. Okay.
So the alpacas were introduced, but more as a kind of a low impact way of handing more of the land in that particular area over to natural habitat. Yeah, we are on a bird sanctuary here,
Yes. Are you? Yeah.
quite a nice
And
spot.
you've got is it the Banno estuary?
Yeah,
I just want to show a view of from where you are, and it's just stunning because you've got all these lovely castles and old churches and so on. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
that is Clonmines, which would have been a very highly populated area in medieval times. I would say it could have been a city there. It was a busy little inlet, but it silted up. So there was a very high population by the standards of the time in that area. So I think there's 7 buildings there. There's some abbeys and different buildings. And then you can see in the old farmhouse, there's a tower house.
Yes.
So there's one of them here on this yard as well. You're looking out at that. That's more or less what we look at from our window,
Sure. And that's the tidal river, so it goes
Yeah,
on.
exactly. You have the Curragh and the Onduff rivers that meet in Wellington Bridge, which is about a mile further upstream, and they come out there into Banno Bay.
So you're in Wexford, but is Waterford the other side of that?
Yeah,
Yeah, we are very
see.
close to Waterford, yeah.
Yeah. While we're here, let's go on and look at some of the work. Now, I know this is a work that both of you have done. You Colm on the left and Martina on the right, am I right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Talk to us about that, please.
Well, that was a pebble because I personally spend a lot of time on the beach with the dogs and walking them, and there's a huge inspiration with stones and the textures. So I once picked one, and it was a really nice one because there was something interesting on both sides of the pebble. And we were experimenting with yarn, so we said, okay, I take one, and Colin will take the other side, and we will design something together. So basically, if you put them together, it would become the pebble itself,
Yes.
which we actually we kind of did that in the hang tough contemporary, where we hang them that way as well.
All right. Okay.
Mine on the right was using hemp yarns, and Column was a mixture of sheep's wool, lamb's wool, and then the alpaca, and that's where our interest started to become very clear into the alpaca yarn. because it's very soft, it's beautiful, but at the same time, it doesn't have the scouring process in the cleaning of the yarn as wool would naturally have to getting rid of the lanolin, which can be quite a harmful process, and it's very labor intense as well. So alpaca yarn doesn't have to be scoured like that. So we just thought that's something that would really work here for us.
They're also all natural colors. There's all the bottom colors are alpaca
Yeah.
and the white in the center, but they're
Yes.
all natural. There's no bleaches, no dyes. It's just straight off the back.
Now, I know you're very ecologically minded, and that goes to even the glue that you use. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been a very conscientious step in that direction from us over the past few years. So we've eliminated all synthetics, which makes us actually unique in our field. So we have no synthetics. The backings are all natural. The glues are natural, and we're using only natural fibers.
Yeah, so basically what it means is that when you put the carpet on a compost heap, eventually it will turn into
There's
compost.
no end of
Yeah.
life
Oh,
problem.
really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it will take few years, but
Of course.
eventually
Of
it will,
course.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Which-
nothing like your sort of commercial.
The
Yeah.
commercial, it's a real problem actually within that
Yeah.
industry, you know, because you have synthetic and natural fibers mixed in a matrix that can't be separated. So you'd often see people coming up with ways to get rid of old carpet or and you'd look at it and wonder really. It's one of the things that really drove us on. I remember seeing bits of old carpet being sold within bedding for horses and I just thought, well, that was perfectly good sand until you put those bits of plastic in there. Why would you do that?
Because that will live in the ground for,
So
you know.
you're thinking, even if you were to do something like that with it, at least it's all natural, you know, and it can be separated in that.
And are these rugs hard wearing? I mean, do they take much footfall? Because I
Yeah.
mean, the ones you had there were obviously on a wall.
Yeah.
But how much of your work ends up on the floor where people are actually treading on it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's most of it ends up on the floor.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's going to last a lifetime on the floor, even under heavy traffic. Like we put them in hotel foyers. You can see them in Brown Thomas actually on the floors there in their store out in Dundrum.
All right.
And they're getting heavy footfall, but they will last a lifetime. And even at that, we will sometimes get them back here, maybe 25, 30 years old, and we would reback them at that point because that would be the bit where it begins to go, will be at the back.
Not the front, yeah.
So it might get worn, or it might have been wet, or maybe on a warm floor, it might begin to get brittle, but we can remove and reback them at that point again.
So let's move on to this. And this is obviously using a lot of the alpaca wool, yeah?
Yes, yeah. And they are all natural colors as well. So that is kind of the end result of our project that resulted from the profits from the island exhibition.
Oh, yes.
So all that you see is actually one of the alpacas there in the field, and the collection that was produced from just the natural yarns.
So whose designs are they, Martina?
We both designed them.
Oh, you
So,
did? Okay, these are yours, not a
But they're all
collection.
ours,
yeah,
yeah.
that
But
was kind of
one of the things like we've mixed also to try and get a merino like wool that we can produce in Ireland, because the merino sheep doesn't actually thrive here in our climate. We have mixed the alpaca together with Galway wool. So that white background, that's what you're looking at. We've mixed it 50-50. The colors are the pure alpaca then in the middle. But one of the things we found was that despite the fact that we've produced all that yarn, and the guys in the Galway Wool Co-op actually gave us the 50% of the Galway wool, it cost us more just to produce that yarn than it would to buy ordinarily. So we had to keep costs down. I would love to actually approach other, and it's something that we're looking at in the future, would be to bring in other designers or artists to work specifically with that material and come up with something you know, that talks to that project.
Sure.
But for the moment, it was an extra cost we just couldn't add on to it. They're already, that collection would cost more to order, say, to the customer than our standard in-house collection, you know.
Okay, right. Okay, and then there's the practicalities of
that's
having alpacas
that's
at
what they
home.
are.
That's where we got sucker punched. There's quite a bit of input there, yeah.
But it's great. Like
It's nice, yeah.
they're lovely animals, and they are very gentle and curious, and it's a great addition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay.
Here they are, yeah.
And they're the 5 girls.
They're
Yeah.
girls, yeah, because you have to keep the boys and girls separate, and they are herd animals, so they don't thrive if there is just one or two. They actually can die of loneliness. So you have to have a minimum of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bit like donkeys.
Yeah, no, they
Yeah.
just really love company. They are
Just
herd
means though,
animals,
if you
yeah.
have boys, you have to have a herd of boys in another
Yeah.
field and a herd of girls, and so we've just stuck with girls for now.
Yeah.
Very good. Good Catholic upbringing.
No, because they can have babies as well. They call them
Yes,
chaos, yeah.
of course. All right. What are we looking at here?
Oh, that's the most, I would say, challenging piece for the island exhibition. It's a piece by Gottfried Heldmine, who is an Austrian-Irish artist, and he does these amazing portraits, and they can be quite disturbing as well, because it's all about psychological and issues and anxiety in the society. But he selected one of his paintings called The Blue Child, and it was quite challenging because what you're looking at is a portrait, which is very difficult to create in a hand-tufted medium, but also it was all silk as well, so it was quite amazing to touch.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a beautiful piece actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's about 1.5 meters, is it? 4 or 5
that's
feet?
about
High?
1.3 by 1.8 meters. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So
It was,
quite
it
big.
was stunning. Like it was amazing. We were really happy about it because we were really, you're not very sure till, this was our first face kind of made, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And tell me, when you say you sold these as part of the project, how did you sell them? Do you mind me asking?
They were sold
Was
through
it an auction or was it a
yeah,
sale?
White's
auction,
auctions.
yeah.
So they were very much a big key part of it. Actually, they were super to work with, and they took no fees, as there was half of it going to charity.
They were
Yeah.
actually amazing. Yeah,
So
yeah.
they did a super job.
White's auctioneers, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. They were very good. Yeah.
So it was all done one day, was it? Done
It
and
was,
done.
they had what it's not even an auction anymore. They call it a timed sale.
Ah, yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
We're online for I think 2 weeks.
Because it was very shortly after COVID as well, so
Yeah.
it was all that.
And to be honest, like we were sitting there, I'd say within 10 minutes from the close time, thinking we might be driving home with with 12 rugs in the back of the van.
Yes.
And then it was like a day at the Galway races. Everything just suddenly blew out of the water. Yeah.
It was an
Well,
incredible experience. Yeah, it was just like this kind of adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Yes. Yes. Quite nerve-wracking.
yeah.
I'll go into prices in a minute, but I don't want to go with prices on everything. But
No.
now is this no. This is not the one that it's not a video. This is just an image.
Image of the
Yeah.
result of
Right.
That
And
was-
who is the artist behind that?
This is Dorothy Cross. She's a artist here in Ireland, a very well known, I would say.
She is, and she's been on the art as well not so long ago.
That's right. Yeah.
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 So that's her piece when it's in the dark. It's called The Glow, and it's actually trees. When you look up above yourself and you see all those branches.
Yes.
So she asked us to use phosphorus wool. So this is in the daylight, so you can't see anything. And then as the darkness happens, you will start to see the
there now.
So it's pure white.
Pure white, yeah.
Pure
You
white.
can't make anything out in the dark, yeah.
Yeah. And then when
it's
it's
quite
dark,
tricky to tuft, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's when it's dark. So we had to put up the lights quite often in the gallery to show people, because they were like, "What's this white carpet
I
doing
know
here?"
we displayed that. It was the only one that wasn't displayed on the wall, so it was displayed actually. I mean, Dorothy had suggested we put it on the floor because it is a rug and people should walk on it.
Yeah.
But we put it on a plinth up off the floor. But anytime we switched off the lights, I remember on the night of the opening and standing around with glasses of wine, like, and someone would switch off the lights and everyone would rush towards that rug. So yeah, it was moments of anxiety.
Sorry, I was trying to see if I could make it do it again.
Yeah, you need to play the video, I guess.
I know, but here.
Oh yeah.
I'll just play it one more time.
Okay, yeah.
It was quite a challenge actually to make.
To make it,
It really was, yeah. And even just to come up with ways to make it glow as well, aside from the, the technicalities of tufting it. But I think
you work from the back column, isn't that right? So you'd have your design sort of mapped out.
We are working with a mirror image always, yeah.
Or mirror, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But we had kind of loosely thrown out a theme to all the artists as well, and I felt that really touched on it of all of them, for me personally anyway.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the sort of separation and reconnection we were all feeling as individuals after COVID, because it was right after COVID. I remember we had said, often we thought we'd really suffer there because people like to come and see and touch, and all of a sudden nobody's touching anything. But we had said we might put a sign on the door going into the exhibition saying, "Touch me, please."
Yeah, because it often happens with exhibitions for various reasons that you are not supposed to touch the piece. But for us, because it's the texture, that it is actually important to touch.
Yeah.
So people are allowed to stand on the works of art.
Yeah.
Some of them anyway.
After they've bought them.
Indeed.
Well, Dorothy thought they should, so yeah.
So the next one, sorry, this is not behaving itself. The next one, tell me about that.
That's a piece designed by Sean Scully, our renowned Irish artist, painter, as you would know him mainly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sculptor, yeah. So we were actually amazed that they answered our email.
Yes.
And when we heard, okay, yeah, this is it. You can use this painting and you can create the wall hanging. We were really we were happy. It was another challenging one because, as you can see, it's not exactly easy thing to do to replicate brush strokes with wool and the technique that we used. So it was a bit of a head wrecking, scratching.
It was difficult,
it was difficult, but I think
deceptively. But
and do you shave into the wool in the front of it?
Sometimes, but not this time. No.
Okay, all right.
It was quite trying to evoke the brush strokes and the blending.
Yeah, and all of these are much the same size, 1.8 meters.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, this one was 1.5 by 1.7 meters. Yeah.
So they're the same area, but just a couple of them are slightly different shapes.
Slightly different. Okay.
Yeah.
And are we allowed to say how much this sold for?
Yeah,
because that was all.
I mean, I think the likes of Sean Scully and Dorothy Cross and Gottfried Helmwein, they're coming on board, I suppose, endorsed the whole thing, and made it financially viable, I guess. But we made a very conscious decision at the outset to approach, a very diverse selection of artists in terms of where they were in their career, age, gender, what kind of work they're doing. So, it was a very conscious thing to kind of get something with a broad spectrum.
Have a real mix.
But I guess, there's much gratitude owed to the likes of Sean Scully that he would sort of endorse it, the whole thing
Absolutely. And if you'll excuse the pun, a mere snip at 65,000 euro.
Yes.
Yeah.
85.
Right.
85, yeah.
Yeah. 85,000.
Oh, 85. Good Lord. Sorry.
85,000, yeah.
It's in our record book. I think it's #1, but we're going to try and
You'll beat that, no
Try
problem.
to beat that, yeah.
But that's wonderful. I mean, that's a huge amount for the charity, never mind anything else.
I know, They were mind blown as well. They were delighted.
Okay. And sorry, before I go away from that, were any of these limited editions, or were they all one?
They were just one of pieces. So basically, as a painting, that was that was the deal, that we can't replicate that again. So
because I was just thinking in my head about when I was doing the mail out to people, I said this will be of interest to visual artists who might think about expanding their practice in other areas and
Yeah,
interior designers, because
Yeah.
I know some artists whose work would translate to a rug like this
really well. Yeah.
amazingly well, amazingly well. You
Yeah,
know,
because you see, like they are mainly used for floors, but people use them as wall hangings for the simple acoustics
all
reason
right,
as well, because they dampen sounds in big spaces.
yeah,
They're great for that as well. So
yeah.
that's why people use them as wall hangings.
Okay,
That's the Mani Gellet number 12, I think, isn't it?
Yes, that's
So the
12.
collection that was launched back in 2008,
Mhm.
which that would have been before our time at the helm here. So it was Dennis, very much Dennis and Fiona, collaborated with the Gellet estate and
Bruce Arnold.
Bruce Arnold to produce a collection of rugs from her gouache designs.
And we have to say who Mani Jalad was.
Yeah, no, they were made in limited editions as artist pieces, but Mani Gellet would have been an artist in the early 20th century.
yes,
I'm sure you're all aware of her, and you know she would have been one of the leading exponents in Cubism in Ireland. She's hugely important here. They have an exhibition which they're opening. Is it end of April?
Yeah, in National
In the
Gallery.
National Gallery of Evie Hone and Mani Gellet, which we're
all right.
really looking forward to actually. But that
Fantastic.
collection was launched in 2008 with limited editions of how many designs was there? 10 of
10.
her designs.
10. Okay. How
And
much do they retail at?
it depends on the size. So,
Yes.
you know, we work everything out by the square foot.
Okay.
So they're slightly more expensive than our in-house collection because they're limited editions.
I know.
They
and
are
they're
very
associated.
collectible, actually. People are collecting them. Like that particular design is sold out.
Right.
And I think number 3 is sold out. It hasn't been something that shot off the shelves, but there's been steady and constant interest in them all the years since 2008,
Mm,
which
okay.
is nice. It's encouraging to see it, you know.
And the other thing is that it is like most of the designs are scalable, so you can make them smaller or bigger. You know, that's the
Sure.
thing that, you know, they once the design is not distorted, you know, you can go
You
really,
can make them to order. So you're looking at, from a couple of hundred to a couple of thousand, basically. And I know that's
yeah.
a piece of string, but yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't say there's any of them for a couple of hundred, but
No, I meant if you did a little prayer mat.
yeah, a face cloth.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is another of Mani Gellet's designs. We thought we went through all the designs that were selected in 2008, and then there were still designs that were selected, but for some reason they weren't included in the collection. So we thought there was 3 of them, and we just thought that they are really striking. So we kind of added them to the collection.
Yeah.
So this is Mani Gellet number 5. And that's actually photographed near us here as well.
Yes. Okay. And
And
this is another, isn't it?
this
Yeah.
is another Mani Gellet, which we were approached by the Crawford Gallery in Cork because they were working on a textile exhibition, a group exhibition of textile artists.
Mhm.
And they wanted to make one of the watercolors. There's a little image of next to the carpet of
Yes.
the Mani Gellet watercolor that they have in Crawford Gallery, and they wanted us to reproduce it and make it into a rug. And as you can see, this one is a bit different to the ones that we normally make because it has the tassels at the ends as well.
Yes.
Yeah, because originally when there would be designs by Alan Gray or Mani Gellet for design rug designs, they would be hand knotted. So it would be a different technique, and they would all kind of have the tassels at the end of them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful piece. But this is quite unusual.
Yes, and I don't know, architectural lovers will probably recognize the E1027 in the south of France, designed by Eileen Gray.
Mhm.
So that was another exceptional artist of her time. That was Eileen Gray. She was actually born in County Wexford, wasn't she?
Yeah, yeah. Just up
And
the
known for furniture design, yeah?
Yeah, she's very famous for her furniture design.
Yeah, furniture, architecture, anything basically, yeah.
Yeah.
But she lived in France a lot. But there is a whole collection on her in the museum in Collins Barracks.
Yes.
well, that people can see her furniture as well. But this was a kind of a project initiated by Richard Malone, who is a fashion designer. He's an Irish fashion designer. He's based in London. He's from County Wexford also, and he had a project called Making and Momentum, and he invited different Irish artists and craft people and makers to create something specifically for the E1027, because they were trying to raise money for the reconstruction of this house, because the villa was kind of in a really bad state. So they were trying to work on raising funds to finish all those works, which are finished now, and now it's reopened again.
Okay.
And it was a traveling exhibition, so then people could see this in Collins Barracks in Dublin, and then it was here in Wexford in the county council.
Yeah, county
Yeah.
council office as well.
Okay. And I mean, to make a rug like that, given the shapes and all that kind of thing, I presume that's quite a complex operation, is it?
That was a difficult rug to make. Again, Richard works a lot with, he's very conscientious about, you know, where we get our materials from, impacts, that. So we worked only with
What was on stock? Yeah.
stuff that was left from something, you know, we were very much
right.
guided by what we had here. There was nothing ordered specifically for that. So he was working out of old stock, old yarn stocks and things like that. But it's a huge rug actually. That measures almost 4 meters long by 2.5 meters wide. So it's a big rug.
Yes. Okay, we've just a few more to go, and then I want to show people the process, how it's actually made. But tell me about this.
So this is one of our collaborators, James Early, who would be an artist, and he would be working with stained glass as his family. And he would be kind of in a graffiti area, which you can probably see that influence in the rug. And so we worked with him previously, and then he approached us for a project that he had for iPut in Dublin, landings. So this rug it's about 5 meters long.
It's a big one as well.
It's a really beautiful design called Undercurrents, and we just thought, you know, it just shows really nicely on a big scale and all the detail and colors, and yeah.
And would that be a wall hanging?
No, that's on the floor.
That's
actually.
on the floor in there in the foyer.
Yeah, but it was stunning. It really was at scale.
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah.
There's another one actually. It's quite an old one, but there's another one. I delivered that. We got special. I don't know.
That was in 21.
It was during all the lockdowns. I just driving into Dublin City with that, and the whole place was shut. Everything was so quiet. I'm just thinking. I'm reminded of it now, looking at it in full on the screen. Actually,
I know. Yeah.
and there was. I saw one person running, and the dart was still going, but there was nobody on it. Like, it just was so surreal driving into.
And this piece here.
That's Marie Hennessy.
Yes, who's with us at the moment? Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Marie. This is the most consistent kind of designer with Cadogan. She has been working with Cadogan kind of since the start with Dennis and Fiona on and off, and she has her own artistic practice. And this is one of her latest designs, and it's a reflection of her printmaking process now as well. And it's a beautiful rug that we all love. And yeah, it was very laborsome for Chris.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to make.
It's a very difficult one to make, but it's worth it.
It's additioned, so even though it looks very random, and it's actually not. It's quite like the placing of everything there is very precise and carefully done, and there's also a mix of silk and wool.
And actually, it's very interesting because normally we draw all these designs ourselves on the canvas, but Marie, every time this one is ordered, she comes here and she spends 4 hours drawing that on the canvas herself. So,
gosh, wow, a lot of work. It's beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of work. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. I think this is the last piece we're looking at.
Yeah, we just have to go on the bestseller, I suppose.
Yes, okay.
This is Andrew Ludick. And I was thinking about it yesterday because it's all about the St. Patrick's, and that's probably why people love it so much, because it's the
Tricolor.
tricolor.
Even stuff.
But Andrew Ludick is the ceramist, and he works in Kilkenny, but he's from America actually. Yeah, but this proved like very popular design that's that people love.
Yeah, we've actually, it's one of the things that came out of the Nadaha, the island project, and all the work we were doing with our own fibers. We're trying to use some of the shearings and things, and working with locally sourced materials. So we've actually started to make some cushions. I'm just thinking of it when I saw that, because this is one of them here. So I'm looking at it right on the other side of the computer.
Oh yes,
And
yes.
that's from
It's taken from that design, you know.
from the limestone.
But we've stuffed that with our own shearings from the making process. So we're looking for a way to reuse that, and it's a tufted surface. And then we're using just Irish linen on the actual cushion cover itself, and that's made just down the road here as well by the linen shirt company. So I guess the main focus is on trying to source locally and trying to think about the impacts of what we do, you know.
Sorry, I might have missed, Colin, what you said there, but are you using the same rug making process for that particular pillow?
For that pillow, we would tuft.
That
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of introducing a range without tufting on the front, because the most expensive part of this pillow is the tufting. But yeah, we've done it with quite a few of the different designs. We've just taken sections of them on, and the front face of the pillow is a hand tufted panel. Yeah. So it worked quite well. I mean, and the first ones we did, there's another one that's just using the alpaca.
Yeah.
And you know, it's so soft, it's gorgeous actually. But it's all undyed and it's unbleached. It's just their natural colors.
Gorgeous. Yeah. Gorgeous.
Well, we've done it with quite a few of the different designs. Yeah.
Okay, so look, we're going to finish off, because one thing that really impressed me when I visited you those couple of weeks ago, was your actual workhouse. I mean, you know, where you do all your work, and it is a giant room. It may not even come across that well from what we're looking at, but it's almost like a film set, you know, something like you'd expect to see in a film studio, where you've got these huge panels that can move back and forth, and then you've got, you know, things being ramped up, and it's quite extraordinary. But there's somebody, I don't think it's you,
That's
working
Chris.
away.
So he's standing at the back of the rug there. We have stretched the canvas on the loom, and he is tufting. So he's putting the wool through from behind. So you're actually looking at, there's 3 different rugs there.
Yeah.
Process. The first 2 to his left are finished. You can see something by John Redmond there on the right. And that's Shane O'Driscoll that he's actually working on. The other 2 are our own designs. There's Jenny Maslin. Jenny did both of them, did she? Or was that?
Yeah, the one on the ground.
Yeah. So,
Grand. And then, sorry, the one to our right here, looking at it.
that's kind of oblique.
Yeah.
That's John Redmond. We did a rug for John some years back as well.
So this is basically a frame, a massive, massive frame that you can pull backwards and forwards, and
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one on the right would be where we do the biggest rugs. The one that Chris is standing at is mobile, so it lifts up and down, and it makes it very convenient to use.
3 by 5 meters.
3 by 5 meters. Anything bigger than 3 by 5 meters, we do on the frame to the right. So we have the capability, say, to fill that frame completely, and then release it, drop it down and roll it, and just continue up. So like, we've made rugs up to 15 meters long there, 14, 15 meters. And I think that was 7 meters wide, was it? That'd be kind of the limits of where we'd go.
And the roll on the left-hand side, sort of above at the top end of the picture, is that the canvas?
That is actually from an old project. That is one of the canvases. Yeah.
Okay.
This one we don't use. We did a very large project, which is the one that took us through the lockdown, actually, for Singapore Airlines. And we produced, I think it was 70 rugs or something like that, to go into their
first
class cabins, believe
Really?
it or not. But they had to be made with a very specific backing for aviation.
Fire retardants,
fire regulations and things. So that backing actually was specifically for those rugs.
Right. How interesting.
We still have
your rugs are you flying carpets.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Fine
you,
rug.
yeah.
Never thought of that, but yes, we do.
So this is the actual process, and it'll give
So
you
it's
an
the
idea.
back of the design. Yeah.
So what's he doing there?
That is hand-tufting from like that was one of the rugs for the island exhibition again. Colin was on it. And it's just working there with the one.
It's air pushes the wool through,
Okay.
so you
So
need compressor.
he's pushing it through, and this is the back of,
This is
of
the back,
the
yeah.
rug.
Yeah, so once that's finished, it'll be fixed. All that will be fixed, and a second layer is fixed on the behind that. So there's a secondary backing that's applied, say, while it's still on the loom, and then you just cut it down onto the floor, and you'd start your work on the front face. So you'd have to shear it if there's any carving. You'd have to trim and clip. You tidy up the edges, then you turn it back over again, and you complete, say, the actual binding of the edge of the rug.
Yes.
So there's a bit of process to do after it comes off the loom as well.
Sure. I mean, it's very, very labor intensive, but at the same time, presumably this pneumatic thing makes it a hell of a lot easier and
Yeah,
faster.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
does he have to
Definitely.
load different wools every single time? There's an element that changes color.
yeah. It's one of the things that people don't often, you kind of have to drill at home when you are collaborating. If somebody is coming up with a design and they've got 20 different colors and they're only tiny little patches of color, 4 cones of each color has to be weighed out, carried down, then weighed back in again
Yeah,
and carried
yeah,
up and
yeah.
put away back on the shelf. So it gets very labor intensive, so we try to reduce the number of colors where possible.
Yeah. All right.
Just keep that in
Before we
mind.
go to our Q&A, Colin, could you lift up your computer and just give us a bit of a 360 of what is your showroom,
Yeah, surely, yeah.
please?
Yeah, so this is one of Marie's rugs actually, from that same collection there that I was showing you.
Yes.
Bloody AI trying to zoom in on it now.
All right. Yeah.
And this is one of Martina's here. And then we have Deirdre Breen, who is a graphic designer and a printmaker down in Cork.
Mm-hmm.
We have one of these Ohm rugs that was from that Nadaha collection. So the inscription there is all in the alpaca wool, and the background is our very own blended Galway and alpaca.
Okay.
And then Colm Dokala, this is another one of those designs from that collection. And there is Marie's rug that we saw in the image earlier on.
Stunning, isn't it?
That's gorgeous, and the silk gives it such a luminosity.
Yeah.
And texture is something else actually. Another one of Martina's, that's sepia, inspired from stones again.
Yes.
It's kind of fossiled, you often see those little pieces, but it's in negative, so it's what was
Yes.
white is now black and so on.
Yep.
Then we have a Patricia Murphy, which is one of our, they've been always really strong sellers, and they're strong designs and colors that she works with. She's passed away some time ago. But it's amazing actually to see people when they come in, they will always gravitate towards Patricia's designs.
Now that one that we're looking at just here, right? The sort of
Yeah.
round one.
Yes,
Is that sort of shaved to shape?
that is Taedra, and it's done with a felted wool, which is much heavier, say, thicker than what we'd ordinarily work with. So that's partly why the texture is so. But also then we've worked in different pile heights and with different processes. So the background is a loop pile. So what you're seeing is the edge of the yarn, and those sections that stand out is actually cut pile. So you're seeing the ends of the yarn where it's, and that gives you that textural difference. It's the same color actually throughout. This
Lovely
is another
fact.
one of Patricia Murphy's Blue Pebble. Here we have some experimenting that we were doing. We started making headboards.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
nice
was
idea.
it was a project we kind of, in some of the first days there, I was working some of my furniture making into it as well. So we made the bed and headboard. It's all traditionally upholstered, all again using only natural materials. So there's the thinking behind it was a sleeping space where there's no off-gassing or no harmful vapors that we need to be thinking about.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's traditionally upholstered. There's no synthetic glues or materials being used. We have Zoe Choi down here. The two brown ones there. And this is one of Jenny's again. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wonderful.
Back around.
Wonderful. And I mean, there are various other spaces in your yard. You know, it's actually quite an extensive.
Yeah, it's a big
Community.
space. It's a big space. It's an old, like there, it used to be much bigger. There was actually a large house here. Yeah, no, the house was listed on, it's listed on the big houses of Ireland, but there's nothing left of it. So there's a coach house over to the left that would have been a part of it. And the little house that we live in here was an abutment. It's just like one up, one down, a kind of a lean-to, and one of its walls would have been the original gable of the big house, but that's all that's left of it. Yeah.
The actual settlement you can trace back to the 16th century, I think, can't you?
Yes, yeah, there was somebody here. I think even beyond that, actually, back as far as the mid to late 12th century.
Really?
I think there's, there are, I've seen it written in a few places that there was somebody here from the time of the first Norman invasion.
Yes.
Because they came in just down the road here in Banno Bay.
Which is, yeah, it's a Norman landing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Listen, that was fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And thanks to everybody for joining. There's
one thing I'd like to mention before we go to the Q&A, and that is that you have a piece that's going to be appearing in the Venice Biennale.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's happening, I think, the 8th of May. It's sort of under wraps at the moment, so we can't even look at it.
I can't show you a picture. No, we were approached by Nason's Architects
from Cork,
and they're representing Ireland at this year's Venice Biennale. So they've commissioned a rogue for the centerpiece of their showcase, which was a real honor. Actually, we're so looking forward to it, and it's an excuse to get over to Venice for the Biennale as well. So we're very
no better excuse. And we'll certainly show that to everyone once you know we're allowed.
It's a gorgeous rug, actually. Yeah, their design.
And it's a big rug.
Yes, quite big. What size is that?
3.4 diameter.
Yeah.
Yeah, circular.
Circle meter. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to allow everybody to unmute themselves, and if you want to ask a question, please do.
Can I just say something?
Yes, you
Alan,
can.
hi, it's Marie Hensey.
Thanks for joining us.
I think from the artist perspective, I just have to say both Martina and Colm are just amazing to work with because they're so sensitive to reaching a vision and working really collaboratively with you to achieve texture, to achieve color. And it really feels nothing's impossible because I think you're holding on to a vision and a piece of artwork and you're working with somebody to translate it into something completely different. And I think the idea of a visual or an artwork being a floor piece is really important, you know, and as Colm said, they really are hard wearing and enduring, but there's a lovely thought about that it becomes a something that's used and really becomes part of the family history in people's homes. But I have to say, over the years I've worked with Martina and Colm, they've just been absolutely incredible, and their energy and the beauty of the yarns and the yarn store. It's that smell that, yeah, I'm back on the stairs where the reception's better.
Ah, that's it. Okay.
We were wondering.
Yeah, but I just to say again how amazing and privileged it has been to work with Martina and Colm, and they so sensitive to the vision of the artists, and there's nothing that's not possible, and they bring another life to your work, and it's great to have had that opportunity. So I'd say if anybody is interested, go down to Ceadogán, and just both of you are so generous with your time and your vision. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marie. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure working
Yeah.
with you as well.
Definitely.
But
Because
I think one of the things you said there and it really strikes me is that, you know, that the piece is being used. It's functional. And I think that might be, you know, it's part of the reason why the Gellet collection is such an integral part of what we're doing here. Is her vision was very much along those lines as well. You know, somebody who's
to use it.
who's
Yeah,
at the leading
use-
edge of the art world and leading Ireland into cubism and modernism and all that, and yet she was also very deeply rooted in the making and the craft and the fact that it's a part of a home and it's yeah. So thanks. No.
Thank you very much, Marie. That was a pleasure always working with you anyway. So
Well said, Marie. And it just does get across the sort of passion and enthusiasm that you have that,
Yeah.
that when we first met, it was so obvious in a lovely way, you know,
Yeah.
very genuine way. Eilish says, really interesting. Thanks so much. Irene O'Neill, absolutely fascinating and fantastic talk. Teresa King, amazing insight into your material and your process. Many thanks. Margie Dunn, congratulations on your well-deserved success. Dennis Kelly, which sells better, rectangular or shaped rugs? Rectangular, I presume.
Probably more rectangular rugs sell. Yeah. I would guess. It's hard to know, actually, isn't
but
it?
funnily enough, circles are really good. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so it's fit kind of any space really.
Pamela Debris says, beautiful work and designs. Marie, your designs look stunning. Amanda Jane Graham says, congratulations on your incredible work. Thank you for sharing, and thank you, Alan, for hosting a fascinating conversation. Thank you very much, Amanda. Geraldine Clark, fantastic work, who was with us when we visited you. So anybody who would like to ask a question or make a comment in person?
Can I just say something?
Please do.
I
Who is it?
absolutely love Irene.
Irene. Hi,
I'm
Irene.
I have a background in graphic design and I did study interior design, never worked in it. But I love rugs. I just think your work's amazing. And I want to thank you for the talk. Thank you.
Thanks so
you very
much.
much. Thank you.
Thanks, Irene, for that.
There.
Anybody else before we wrap? I think we've covered everything.
Super.
Or less,
Thank you
haven't we?
very much,
Yeah.
Alan, for
The
having
only
us.
thing we didn't mention, and when we were talking to you before all that, we just wanted to say that again. It just came up in our conversation before, Alan, and we kind of felt that when we entered and took over Ceadogán, it kind of had that momentum. It felt like a golden age, and we are hoping that it still continues.
Well, by the sound of things, it certainly will. You're
Yeah.
very proactive, and you know, I just love the fact that you're sort of merging. I think, as you said, Colin, you're merging art with craft
Yeah.
in a very real way.
Yeah, that's really fundamentally at our core, you know. And I guess my own background is very much, I would call myself a maker. You know, it's been very much the making, the design end, but Martina's the artist. So in many ways, that's what we aim to blend.
You're a good team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bernie Dignam says, hello from Connemara.
Oh, hi, Bernie.
Hello.
Yeah.
I thought you'd know that. Okay, listen, thank you both so much for sharing everything that you have this morning. It's been most interesting, and I wish you continued success. And hopefully we'll see you again, and we'll certainly hear from you again, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Alan.
All right. And thanks everybody for watching.
Do drop in, and the showrooms are open here. Anyone that's if you're in the Wexford area, southeast, we're open here. 20 minutes notice to be sure one of us is around.
Exactly. Give them a ring first.
We're open here most of the time. Yeah.
Super. Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
So much.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.